Welcome to Reborn Again, a space for truth, healing, and new beginnings. This is the podcast that reminds you it's never too late to start over. Together, we'll explore the beauty of transformation, awaken to love, and discover the light within. I'm Karen Laura Mark, and this is your journey of awakening. Let's step into the truth together. Hello and welcome, beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me today. I am so happy that you're here and I'm excited for this episode today. I've been longing to do this episode for a long time, and this one, I'm gonna pre-warn you, it's gonna ruffle some feathers, okay? And it's okay. This is, my journey. I'm sharing a lot of my truth, and my truth may be different from yours, and that's totally okay. That's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. That's part of our journey, your journey and my journey. I want to talk about something that touches us all, okay? Our spiritual journey, our interactions with others, and how sometimes, even with the best intentions, we can fall into something that I call the spiritual ego. There's this phrase we hear a lot around us, and I think you can recognize this one. But you hear around you a lot, don't let others bring you down. And while that has some truth in it, right? I've come to understand on a much deeper perspective what this is all about. And let me explain. True spirituality isn't just about protecting ourselves. It's about bringing healing and light into the spaces we are. Even when others are kind of, all over the place or quote unquote, in your opinion, negative. Today, we're going to explore how the ego shows up in our spirituality. How we can respond with love instead of reaction. And how we can become vessels for peace and healing in the lives of others. But also, most importantly, also yourself. So, what do you say? Should we dive in together? Let's start by understanding what the spiritual ego or the ego itself just is, right? The ego is the part of us that wants to appear right all the time. And when you look at more of the spiritual perspective on the spiritual ego usually wants to be enlightened or more holy than others. And I'm speaking upon this because I've been here myself, okay? I'm gonna be straight up real with you guys in everything in my journey. A lot of these things I speak upon, I've also experienced myself. And this little voice inside you, it usually sometimes thinks and says that I'm right, they're wrong. And also, inside you, the voice wants to tell you, I know better, or I've figured this out. While secretly inside of you, you're kind of measuring yourself with everyone else, against yourself or against them. Our sense of spiritual achievements becomes like a pedestal, right? It's subtle, but it can also be, I don't want to say dangerous, but that can be a trap. Not because spirituality itself is wrong, right? But because the ego can twist it into a tool for pride rather than love. And there are some signs, right, when it comes to this. And I wanted to talk upon it. signs of spiritual ego and how it can show up. One of them is like feeling above someone else's opinion. And that goes back to what I said earlier, like I am much more aware of this. I know a lot more and they don't know anything. Can you recognize that one? Another one is becoming defensive when your beliefs are being challenged. So let's say we share different beliefs, right? And this one can show up a lot in religions. You can see how different religions are kind of fighting each other. And I always say this, and this is so on point. The truth doesn't mind being questioned. It's the lie that doesn't like being challenged. Yeah, let that one marinate a little bit inside of you. And see if that hits home inside of you. Another thing that the spiritual ego can do is judging someone else's spiritual path instead of focusing on your own growth. It's this constant measuring. Sometimes it's even competition. Sometimes it's even putting someone else down in how they believe or view God or view growth. Just ask yourself this. Does that sound like that is coming from God? Does that sound to you like true spirituality? Does that feel like love? Take a moment and just reflect upon that. When have you felt like this maybe in your life? Maybe you've caught yourself thinking, I can't believe they don't see it this way, or I know what's right. That's your ego speaking. And I'm going to bring something up that I've healed a lot of my journey in this topic. In my family where I'm from, I'm born and raised in Christian household. I was baptized. I did my confirmation. I got married in the church. And trust me when I say this, I did not believe at all. If you asked me 3 or 4 years ago that I was going to get married in a church, I would laugh and say, heck no. That would never happen. And people who may have known me 3 years ago, they know this. Because you know the old version of me. But when I say this, who I was 3 years ago, that person, of course, she's here, but she has awakened so much. So much. I can't even say that I am the same person anymore because I'm literally not. Mentally, belief-wise, how I feel within my spirit. And I'm so grateful for that woman. I am so grateful for that girl because she gave me so much insight on life. But anyway, going back to my topic. And I am going to talk about Jesus and how Jesus had so much to say about this. Jesus taught us so much about this dynamic between ego and soul. He said, whoever exalts themselves will be humbled, but whoever humbles themselves will be exalted. Proving others wrong, it's when the spiritual journey becomes about pride rather than love. To humble ourselves is to choose love and compassion over judgment. It's to listen before responding, to stay grounded in peace when others are a mess. And to let our soul guide our actions instead of our ego. So, in other words, the ego wants to win, but the soul wants to heal and love. So when we release the need to be right, when we choose humility, we align ourselves with God's heart. That is where true spirituality lives, rooted in love, patience, and the gentle power of presence. I don't know how you feel, but that just hits so deep. It's like my heart is screaming, yes. Let's take a deep breath together and let that sink in for a moment. Feel the shift from your ego to your soul, from that judgmental mentality to compassion. And you know what? We just need to see this. Sometimes we need to see that, yes, it's okay, the ego wants to win, but our soul wants love. Our spiritual journey is not about being right. It's about being loving, compassionate, and humble. So when we can allow ourselves to truly, and I mean truly, open our heart and start seeing the divine in everyone and everything, so much in our life is going to change. I'm now going to talk about something that we usually hear a lot around us. And usually when I scroll on social media or I can hear people talk about it, this has become like a popular advice. And I'm sure you've heard about this one. That's also why I want to speak upon it. But this popular advice goes like this: don't let others bring you down. Well, it has some truth in it, right? It can sometimes create a mindset of separation. It becomes like us versus them. And this is where the ego comes into the place again. It's like we choose protection over connection, distance over engagement. And I'm not going to speak so much upon this right now. I just want you to feel what I just said. Can you feel in your heart how one of them is more rooted in fear and one of them is more rooted in love? But what if we took a different approach? Because I see the advice, I really do. But let's bring love into this. So instead of continuing to spread out the fear and the separation, let's start spreading love and peace and light into this world. What if instead of shutting people out, we offered a bit of light in their darkness? Most people, to be honest, unconsciously come to peaceful spirits seeking light. It's like they are mirroring themselves in you. They see the light in you, which means they also see the light within themselves, but they can be a little lost in their ego sometimes, or in these negative beliefs that they carry. And these people, they do not come to you to bring you down. They may arrive with anger or quote-unquote negativity or projection. They may say crazy things, but they are also unconsciously drawn to your calm, to your peace, and to your grounded presence, to your love. Because they know that they have that within themselves as well. Let that one sink in. And you know what? That is a gift. An opportunity to shine your light and be a vessel of healing. So how do we respond in these moments, right? 1, I'm going to give you some advice. You can choose if you want to take them or not. But this is just an advice from my heart to yours, okay? When you are in a moment like this, it doesn't really matter who it is, but you can choose to use this in your daily life. 1, pause. Before you react, just pause. When you have that mindset that, oh, this person is just bringing me all this negativity and they're trying to bring me down or whatever. It's like you enter their storm. What if you pulled them into your peace instead? So pause. Pause before you react. Take a breath. Center yourself in God's love, in your spirit, in your love. 2, just anchor yourself in peace. Whatever is connecting you to that peace, maybe it's prayer, maybe it's a quick meditation. Meditation is just about you going inwards. Or silence, or just remain grounded, feel your feet, look at your feet. And 3, instead of reacting, which usually comes from our past, our ego, we choose to respond. Responding is different. Responding is conscious. That's a choice. And we choose to respond with love. Instead of defensiveness or correction, respond with calm, gentle presence. Respond from your heart. And sometimes we just need to take a moment. Maybe close your eyes for 2 seconds and ask yourself, how would the most loving version of me meet this situation? Let me give you an example, right? Let's put this into real life. Okay. Imagine someone coming to you and they are angry. They're criticizing you or they're projecting their quote-unquote negativity. Your first instinct, right? That ego in you, that reaction, might want to push back or defend yourself. And trust me, I'm working on this as myself right now in my life. But this is where the training comes into the picture. This is where healing comes into the picture. Because even though that person is coming to you with the anger and the projection, we also have a choice. We have a choice, and here is where the healing comes into the picture. This is where healing actually happens in our life. But if we just choose to pause, breathe, and respond from a place of peace, we can acknowledge, we can really see our own pain and how something inside of us was also triggered. You can not only offer yourself healing, but you can also offer them healing, a glimpse of the love that is inside of them. It's like we're becoming mirrors for each other. And you know what? You don't have to carry their storm. Don't get me wrong. You can just be the calm that invites them to remember their own light. We cannot do the work for other people, but we can definitely be a mirror for it. And I truly in my heart and soul believe and feel that this is where we heal the world. This is where we will let God into our life so deep. So let's dive deeper, okay? You know I like going deep. This is my favorite. There's also this saying, hurt people hurt others. But only, and I'll say this, only if we let go of love, only if we let go of God, can that happen. And you know what that tells me too? The hurt, the pain, is that part of you that is screaming for love. It's the part of you that is screaming for oneness in God, for you to hold yourself, for you to not judge yourself, for you not to separate yourself from God. When we maintain our connection to God's love and keep our hearts open, we break the cycle of hurt. We'll break the cycle of pain. Our response does not have to mirror the storm. You understand what I'm saying? In fact, it should never mirror the storm. And Jesus modeled this beautifully. He met the imperfect. He met the broken and the angry with love, grace, and patience. Being the light doesn't mean tolerating abuse or harm. Definitely not. It means recognizing the soul behind the words, offering calm and presence. And sometimes silently guiding them back to peace. This is a choice we make every day. Every day. Do we respond with ego, judgment, or defensiveness? Or do we respond with love, compassion, and patience? By choosing love, we help each other heal. We help ourselves heal, but also the world around us. And I want to remind you, people are drawn to peaceful spirits, healed people. If someone is projecting negativity onto you, remember they are seeking the very light you carry. They are seeking the light within themselves. And it's not about them bringing you down. It's a gift. The chance to radiate God's love and healing. God gave you that gift. God wants you to use it. This is beautiful. So when we can truly start to see and don't walk like we're blind anymore, we can start to use the gift that God gave us. I just want to invite you right now for some reflections, okay? I want to leave you with some reflections in your daily life and also actionable steps that you can take going forward. And the first step that I want to give you is notice your ego. When does it want to assert itself, prove itself? When do you want to be right instead of loving, humbled, compassionate? 2, anchor in love first. Set up something that you can do every day that is connecting you deeper into love. Maybe daily prayer, meditation, or reflection. That can help you to center yourself. Maybe a gratitude journal. How can you connect yourself even deeper into love? 3, respond. Try not to react. In tense or negative moments, just just pause, okay? Choose to pause. Choose words, energy, and presence that heal rather than put more fuel on that fire, right? And you know what? If you enter the fire and that fire becomes even bigger, there's a gift in that as well. It is something that you should see, and maybe that person should see, that maybe you carry the exact same wound or you carry similar pains, and you're just mirroring each other in that moment. But like attracts like. That's a law in the universe. So everything is helping you. Everything is working for you. You may not see it when you're in it, but it's going to be there. Just trust that, okay? 4, be the light. And this is also a choice, but also a remembering. You are the light. You are light. You're a soul. You're a part of God's nature. Remember, most people unconsciously seek peace. Let it shine. Let yourself shine. And 5, my last one, reflect. At the end of each day, journal, like I said, if you have that, or meditate on moments where choosing love for you was so challenging and your ego is like sitting there a little bitter, feeling a little left out maybe. We also need to hug our ego. We need to be like, okay, I see you, I feel you. We don't want to exclude and cut the ego off. That's gonna make everything so much worse. Trust me, we need to be friends with our ego. And you know what? Sometimes in our daily life, our ego is just taking on way too much. That's why it's just too overwhelmed and too much wanting to be in control. That's a whole other episode I'm gonna give you guys. I'm not gonna go off topic, but that's a whole episode itself I'm going to speak upon. But just, sit down, relax, reflect. How did I feel today? What did I learn? And what did love teach me today? Because love has so much to open inside of you. Our world does not need more hurt or separation, and I think you agree with me on this one. It needs hearts and minds and bodies willing to heal, hands willing to hold space, and voices willing to speak light into the darkness. True spirituality is measured in how we respond to storms with grace, in a way. So now, I just want you to take a deep breath again. Inhale. And just exhale. Just let your heart be open. The world is going to be such a beautiful place with your light shining just as it was meant to shine in this world. And now we are going deeper. And you may think, how deep is this girl going to go? Oh man, I am going to go deep. But anyway, I want to go deeper into something that can change the way we see our spiritual journey. And I mean true spirituality. And it's never, ever, ever about putting someone else down. And let me make that very clear. We often think being spiritual means being right or proving others wrong. That is the ego talking. The spiritual ego says, I'm enlightened. They are not. Or, I am on the right path. They are lost. But this way of thinking doesn't help anyone grow. It only causes separation, judgment, and sometimes even unintentional hurt. Think about it. When we act like we are spiritually better than others, we push them away instead of bringing them closer to love and healing. Sometimes even justify being unkind or distant towards someone who is just at a different point in their journey. As Philippians 2 verse 3-4 tells us, do nothing out of selfish ambition or pride. Instead, be humble and value others above yourself. Don't only think about your own needs, but care about the needs of others. So let's break that down, okay? Do nothing out of selfish ambition or pride means we often should let go of ego-driven motives. When we act to prove we're right or show we are more spiritual, we are acting from ego, not love. Spirituality is so much more than that. Another one is be humble and value others above yourselves. And I know this one can sting a little bit, but that actually means we see beyond our own perspective. So it may not mean what you think it means. True spirituality is about caring for the other person, their struggles, and their growth. It's not about making yourself small, okay? It's about making space for their light. So let's take the last part, okay? Don't only think about your own needs, but care about the needs of others. That shows that love is active, not passive. It means choosing kindness, understanding, and healing instead of reacting from ego. In other words, we could say that this verse matches exactly what we are talking about. When someone brings negativity or conflict, meet them with calm, love, and presence instead of judgment. Stop trying to prove your point or defend your ego. Instead, make space for healing, light, and transformation in others' lives. Spirituality is about presence, light, and healing. It's not about power or control. Here's what it looks like in real life, okay? When this actually is at work. You really listen fully to someone without trying to correct them. If someone shares a different perspective, hear them first instead of judging them. Be curious. Be curious to see their perspective, their world. You definitely don't have to agree, but you can listen. Another one is respond calmly and kindly instead of arguing them. This doesn't mean hiding truth. It means speaking from love, not ego. And that's very different. And another one is be an example of peace. Because people are naturally drawn to those who are calm and centered. By being peaceful and loving, you guide them without needing to argue them. Now, let's go back to the spiritual ego. It is the strongest, I would say, when we feel threatened by others' beliefs. Their actions or energy, it just whispers. And I don't know if you have experienced this, but I've definitely experienced this myself before I healed and just really had to wake up. I'll say that. I won't say more. I'll just have to wake up to this spiritual ego. But the ego will just whisper, I must prove myself. I have to show that they are wrong. But if you truly quiet the ego and you start listening to your soul will say something completely different. And what my heart told me and what God showed me and woke me up to is that I will meet them with patience and love. I will not let my ego or old beliefs on how someone has said I have to think or have to do or whatever it is control that moment. Because a lot of the times, if we're being honest, the beliefs that the ego carries may just be based on someone else's opinion. Oof. That one stings sometimes. Because trust me, I was living my life from a lot of people's different opinions back in the days. And if there's one advice, and I'll say advice, you can choose if you want to take it or not, but it's this one. Be careful with basing your beliefs upon someone else's opinions. Choose to root your beliefs, first of all, in God and in love, and be willing to transform your mind all over again. I'll say this, I do not put my faith in man anymore. I do not. I do not care what any person says. I choose to put my faith in God. And God is love. And I am still working on transforming my mind, because those old beliefs that do come from man, they do come up sometimes. And I can definitely see how that is a lot more pain and hurt and fear than it actually is in love. I don't know if you can relate to that, but that has definitely been my story. So let's go back to how the ego can show up when we are, for example, in a situation where someone comes to you, again, being angry, or they're very critical, or extremely quote-unquote negative. The first thing your ego usually wants to do, and I'll say usually, your ego may want to fight back, right? Point out their mistakes or prove you are more enlightened, or you're right and they're wrong, or they have zero experience and you have all the experience. But your soul, God, invites a different choice. Choose to just anchor yourself in love in this moment. Choose to stay calm, because I know this topic can be a lot. Let your words and presence gently guide you into your heart. And see what your heart wants to say in this moment, right here, right now. This is active spiritual work. It takes awareness of your ego, humility, and courage to choose love over pride, okay? But here's one thing that is very, very important. Spirituality that lifts others instead of putting them down can change the world around us. I'll be straight up honest, but that will definitely change the world. That one right there. Think about families, workplaces, or online spaces. When people feel judged or attacked, everyone becomes defensive. But when someone brings peace and love and understanding and acceptance, into that space, hearts soften and minds open. Take a moment and just reflect upon that in your life. When have you been lifted, guided, or healed by others instead of proving your point? When has your ego tried to take control? And you know what? Here's a beautiful truth. When you consistently choose love over ego, you break the cycle. That's where you heal. And we were talking ancestral lineage, generational trauma, all of it. That's when you truly break the cycle. And I mean really break the cycle. We need to start uplifting each other, holding space for each other, and allow God to show up in our lives. So many times we stand in our own way because of what we think is right. And you know what? That's where true surrendering comes into place. All you really need is faith of a mustard seed and you can move mountains. But what do you have faith in? Just ask yourself that. But we can definitely heal the world. And all of it starts with you. All of it starts with ourselves. Us taking accountability. Us choosing the power of love. It's amazing. I think it's now 2 years ago actually. I chose to do a tattoo that I have on my left arm. And that was a very hard time in my life. I was really going through it at that time in my life. I was crying out every single day. I had a lot of pain in my heart. But I chose to do this tattoo on my left arm where it says, choose love. And I see that tattoo every single day. And it just reminds me who I am. And all the choices that I made out of pain, out of suffering. Sometimes I was suffering a lot because I was too focused on myself and my pain. That tattoo reminds me who I truly am. And I'm genuinely sorry in my heart for any time I projected my pain onto someone else. And I truly, truly hope that even though I did, that person didn't take it personal. And that person, right now, no matter where they are in a place of love. I know I can't control the past. I can only forgive myself. And I can choose love. Here on going forward, choose love. There's so many times on this journey I've been caught up in my own ego. And I think that's why I feel as well. I want to share this with you so we can bring awareness on this topic. Because it's easy to be stuck in the cycle or in the loop where you constantly think you have to fix yourself. There's something wrong with you. Or you need to know the next answers to something. Trust me, I was stuck in that for years. Years and years and years. Until I really had to wake up. I really had to surrender. I really had to let go. And I needed to really sit myself down and just ask myself, what am I doing? Who do I choose to be? What energy do I send out to the world? Because for years, and trust me, I think this is probably all my life, I had a huge fear of being misunderstood. And I do see why now I had that fear. And in a way, I feel like I'm still healing that relationship. But now I can truly, truly, truly within my heart and mind see that renewal, the relationship between the heart and the mind, was unbalanced. My heart believed one thing and my mind believed something completely different. And as a reflector, I got so confused. I got so caught up and lost in other people's opinions that it just became my own reality. So I hope my journey and all of this can awaken something in you. And if you do recognize yourself and your own journey in this, I just want to tell you, don't be hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Instead, forgive yourself. Give yourself grace. And remember, the ego is just trying to keep you safe. And the ego has certain ways it believes it keeps you safe. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but it's doing the best it can. And like I mentioned earlier, I am going to do a whole episode about the relationship between the soul and the ego. And how the ego, a lot of times, I will say, is doing way too much. But if you have been listening this far into this episode, because I know this is a spicy episode, I would love to hear how this episode resonated with you, if it resonated with you. I would love to hear your thoughts, your perspectives, and where you have been in this journey. I know me personally, I am still in it. We all are, but I am extremely grateful for this journey. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope these words help you see your own spiritual ego, recognize the gift in people who bring maybe these chaoses sometimes to your life, and that you now can embrace that with the power of light and actually bring healing into these moments to really transform not only your life, but also all of us. Your light matters. Your light makes this world so much more beautiful. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. My prayer is that these words reminded you of the power of love. Love really has the power to transform us in a magical and beautiful way. If this podcast spoke to your heart, I'd love your help in sharing it to really help our world transform in love. If it feels aligned, share this podcast with a friend, post it on your social media, or send it to someone who might need a little reminder today. Together, we can spread God's love further into this world. Until next time, remember that you are loved. Nothing is wrong with you.